Hey guys, how you doing? In light of recent events, there's something I felt I needed to get off my chest. I was a right-winger for a while. Some of you may know this. I have talked about it a little bit here and there. I bought into Trump hard in 2015. I thought our rights were under threat from feminists. I thought the SJWs wanted to burn the Constitution. I thought there was a target on my back because I was white. After a while, I fell down the alt-right rabbit hole. There's many moments I should have jumped ship, but I never did. I believed in the cause, and I wasn't some dumb kid. I was a grown man. There was no excuse. I said and thought some pretty fucked up things. I had real hate in my heart, and looking back on it now, I'm embarrassed and ashamed. Eventually, I got tired of the right, the Bible thumping, the bigotry, the gun obsession, the constant blaming of minority groups for their problems while demanding the left take accountability for theirs. I started watching and listening to leftist content creators to try and get a better understanding of left-wing perspectives and see what they were really about. I didn't want to dismiss them all as bloodthirsty radicals, but instead try to see things from their point of view. And I bought in. I liked the worker advocacy, plans to address the housing crisis, the idea of holding billionaires accountable, climate activism, treating queer people as human instead of like vermin, being more accepting of immigrants, all that stuff. I felt my hatred and frustration lifting off my shoulders. I felt more free without hate burning my heart. I felt good about myself and good to be part of something that saw the best in humanity instead of the worst. At least that's how I saw it. Did I go along with everything the left said? No, there's some stuff that bothered me. The open border stuff, the prison abolition stuff, the anti-family stuff didn't sit right with me, to be honest. But I was willing to overlook that because I believed in the cause, and in the end, I figured reasonable conversations could be had about that kind of stuff anyway. I was willing to be open-minded. Maybe it sounds like I just went along, with where the wind was blowing, like I didn't have any serious convictions. I just kind of swaying from side to side ideologically. But I felt I at least had to take a stand on something, especially knowing how destructive that something can be, particularly right-wing ideology. I saw ugliness, real ugliness on the right, but now I have to take a stand against something else that is just as ugly and brought about by the murder of Charlie Kirk. What happened to Charlie was horrifying. I saw the video and had a visceral reaction. My feelings about Charlie don't matter. He said things I profoundly disagreed with, but seeing a father gunned down in front of his young children, that fucked with me. And seeing the subsequent reaction from those on the left was very disturbing, yet not unexpected. This was the sort of reaction this kind of event was going to get, and if you act shocked, you're just not paying attention. Charlie Kirk was hated by the left. It's no secret. It's pretty much the most well-known fact, in online and offline circles. The same left that cracks jokes or makes excuses for violence committed against conservatives or just white people in general. I saw leftists making light of Cannon Hinnett's murder. He was the 5-year-old white boy that was killed by a black man. I saw leftists excusing the actions of Audrey Hale, a trans shooter that murdered 6 people, including 3 children at a Christian school. And don't get me started on the Ukrainian girl who was murdered by a black psychopath, a leftist black judge set free. Saw plenty of people making excuses for him or saying the girl was racist. They said Cannon Hinnett was racist. The killer of Cannon Hinnett, much like the killer of Irina, the Ukrainian girl, said that these people were racist towards them, and that excuses the murder, which some people agreed with. But I cut the left slack but we know they're not willing to hold these kinds of people accountable, namely these specific minority groups. They see their actions as justified. Maybe not everybody on the left, but a good number of leftists do, or they're willing to make excuses for this kind of stuff. And that animates the right. But when there's a high-profile murder of a black person like George Floyd, or Democrat politicians like the Hortmans, right-wingers mocking it and the reaction from left-wingers are suddenly going too far. This is the culture we all had a hand in creating. All these events happened, and we all just blame each other and obfuscate and cope and demonize, and nothing changes as a result. We stir the pot, we fan the flames, and when tragedies happen, we have the gall to act shocked. We want each other to be conscious of the things we say and the energy we put out into the world. When it comes to ourselves, we couldn't give any less of a shit. One thing I do agree with the left on is that words have a real-world impact. It took me a while to get there. I thought that people's actions were just their fault alone, but words have an impact, how you shape your perceptions, how you view the world. You can be conditioned, you can be psyoped, to borrow a right-wing phrase. But it seems that nobody gives a shit unless it affects someone they care about. It's your rhetoric that led to this. You can't be surprised when something tragic happens. This just goes on and on and on. You could time your watch by it. And that's for those on the left joking about this event. Does it make you feel good to squeeze in one last dunk on a murdering father and harvest some online dopamine just because he said mean words? Does seeing the end result of your anti-fascist insanity fill you with glee? Because that's what the end result of this shit is. That's the end result of this radical fringe ideology. And it's not fair to judge all the left nor the right on the actions of the most radical elements of their ideology, but that's just the world we live in. And we all take part in that. But, do these people, and not just on the left, I'm talking to everybody here, but do you consider your sociopathy and indifference, do you consider how it affects the world? It's going to affect you and the people you care about. Leftists are getting doxxed and fired at an alarming rate. Right-wingers experience that too. People who couldn't help themselves in mocking Charlie are paying for it with their livelihoods, and you can't be surprised at that either. Turnabout is fair play. It's the friend-enemy distinction. It's all these kinds of things. You can't be surprised that one side does it and the other side also does it. It just, you're being hypocritical, but no one gives a shit about being hypocritical anymore either. And if the shooter does turn out to be motivated by leftist rhetoric, how do you think it'll affect queer people or other groups you stand up for? I don't want to speculate too much, but this is definitely looking, I can't say definitely, forgive me, that was a bad word to use, but if this was some kind of leftist thing, what do you think's going to happen? And I know Trump, we talk about him, he's Cheeto Hitler, and any person who isn't a communist or to the left, to the right of Mao, they're all fascists. But the left keeps egging them on. And yes, if it was a prominent leftist who was killed, I'd be saying the same things about the right, because they'd be behaving just as the left is now. Does stirring up more political violence help us achieve a communist utopia? How many more CEOs and conservative activists will it take? What are we even doing at this point? What does any of this accomplish save to create bigger schisms among people and plunge the country into an era resembling the years of lead in Italy or the Troubles in Ireland? So where do we go from here? How do we just exist in a country where prolific political murders and violence are commonplace? Is there any way we can stop and let moderate voices take charge? Does anybody even want that? Personally, I don't think so. I don't think anybody wants to tone it down. Anybody wants to be more moderate. This is the time of extremism now. I don't think there's any way we can fix this, and we're all just forced to live with the consequences indefinitely. It would take a massive upheaval of the current status quo to return to anything resembling normal, and I don't think Americans are capable of that anymore. And maybe America has never been normal. This is a logical point that this is the logical end point of an empire past its prime. I don't know anymore. I'm tired and disgusted and angry. I feel all sorts of things about this. I feel horrified by this. I feel horrified because I know the reactions to this kind of thing, and I know the kinds of things this will inspire. Charlie Kirk, for his flaws, and he did say some explicit things, I discussed that in my last video, but Charlie Kirk was like a pretty moderate guy compared to somebody, say, Nick Fuentes, and you just gave guys like Nick Fuentes a lot of ammunition. And I know we all hate Nick. He's a dirty, evil, stinky Mexican Nazi. But he has sizable influence. He has an audience of millions. And like I said before, the left just keeps egging them on and then playing the victim. The right does it too. I don't want to do the whole both sides bad thing. That sounds like a bunch of pussy bullshit, I know. But this is the state of America right now. It's bad. It's really, really bad. And I can tell you that I'm getting pretty fucking nervous about this. And I know people, when times are tough, and they've been tough for the last few years, the economy has not been great. We're still, reeling from the effects of COVID. Trump is arresting Mexican grandmothers and dragging them away from their families. Hatred and racism is everywhere. Things aren't okay, and we just have to keep existing. Can we keep existing and just going to work and paying bills and living our life? It sounds unfair, because it sounds like, I know how it feels. When all these terrible things happen, I just want to disappear from humanity. I'm so thoroughly disgusted by humanity sometimes. I spend so much energy not being a misanthrope and trying to see the good in humanity and trying to believe in people. I want to believe in people, but it's so goddamn hard. And I know it's getting hard for lots of people out there. And if you're bothered by what I'm saying, then tell me about it. Leave me a comment. We'll have a discussion about it. We'll do whatever. We can debate about it. But this is a message we need to hear. We just keep egging it on over and over and over again. and we keep expecting things to change, and they don't because we don't have the will to actually change things. But what will that change look like? What will it actually take? I don't know. You keep demanding change, but you don't know the specifics of it. I know it sounds ridiculous. I don't know what's going to take. Can we return to any kind of normalcy? What are we going to do? I'm just repeating myself. I'm rambling, I know, but this is horrible. We're at a bad place in America. Things are getting very bad, and I don't see them improving anytime soon. And the longer we keep arguing with each other and building this shitty culture where we revel in each other's misery and death, it's only going to get worse. So if you have any ideas, feel free to share them. Let me know your thoughts. Make a response video, call me out, bitch at me on Twitter, whatever. Let me know your thoughts about this kind of stuff. I'm trying to come from an honest angle. I assure you, I'm not trying to rage bait or anything. But please, like and comment and subscribe and all that good stuff. But that's all I got for you guys for right now. Thank you all for watching. We'll keep continuing this society of ours for as long as we can, and we're just waiting for the next bad thing to happen. But I'll be talking about this kind of stuff, this specific situation, unless something big breaks, unless they catch the guy. But yeah, I'll have more for you guys on this kind of stuff, more about this kind of stuff later. But that's all I got for right now. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.